The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies, Geek Nation Tours, and the generous donations of you, the listener. Thank you to everybody for your continued support. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 222, Carnevale, with hosts Neil Shook, Mike Hobbs and Mike Whittaker, and guest Lewis Clark from Troll Trader. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. My name is Neil Shook and I am joined by my partners in crime for this particular show. We have the Welsh wizard himself. It is Mr. Michael Hobbs. Hello, sir.
Hello, Meeps. How are we, one and all? How is everybody?
Well, how are you doing?
All right.
Yeah, how is the gaming capital of the world?
I was over in Abergavenny earlier. It's very well. It's lovely, nice and hot.
Excellent stuff. And have you, in the meantime, suitably chastised Jeff? Hello, Jeff, for inaugurating a war game in the sheep's nest without you.
I don't want to talk about that, Neil.
Sorry.
It's far too. It's upsetting, Neil. It's upsetting.
I can imagine. I mean, yeah. Yes. Anyway, shall we move quickly on? And we will welcome our other co-host for this evening. It is our very own Troubadour, assuming without cake, because obviously it's midweek and he'll have eaten it all by now whilst watching cricket. Hello.
Wrong.
Really?
Wrong. I am sitting here with a cup of tea and a slice of courgette and ginger cake, which is an awful lot nicer than it sounds.
Hang on, sorry, was that courgette?
And you know how carrot cake works?
Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing, only courgette. And it's really nice, it's really sweet, really flavoursome, very, very nice indeed. Anne's been baking again.
But courgette's a marrow.
Yes, and carrot's not a cake ingredient.
Yes, it is. It goes in carrot cake.
Well, yeah, courgette's going courgette and ginger cake. And trust me, it's really nice.
I'll take your word for it.
It's not what you expect at all.
It's a good way of getting one of your 5 a day.
Absolutely.
Well, is it 9 a day this week? I keep losing track of what the government says we should be eating.
Okay, so courgette and ginger cake. Yeah, Drew's definitely out on that one.
Will be on the.
Come and try it. It's awesome.
Yes. Can we have a link to the recipe, please?
I will find you a link to the recipe.
Thank you very much. We'll post it on the show notes.
This is our new feature, folks. It's Mike's recipe of the week.
Yes, Mike Fanny Craddock Whittaker. Yes. Boy,
it's the wife,
dates
not
a
me.
few. Yeah, but I was just thinking, mentioning Fanny Craddock kind of dates it a bit. Oh dear.
Can't I be the Galloping Gourmet instead?
Well, it depends how much wine you want to drink.
Good point. Good point. Well made.
Indeed.
I think Floyd could do the proper chef.
Also, somewhat the worse for alcohol if memory serves.
Yes, he was. God bless him.
The best were.
Welcome to the Meeples and Miniatures cooking show. In other news, we are going to be talking about some. I think we might actually be talking about some gaming a bit later in the show. So stay tuned.
But first, I'm going to whip up a souffle.
That I'd pay to see.
I can make souffles. I've got qualifications and stuff.
I think on that note,
bring it back, Neil. Bring it back.
We may have thrown Neil completely.
Yes. Okay. As I say, let's bring us back from the brink of turning into something nearer the Great British Bake Off, and bringing it back into miniatures. Just to let you know, okay, today's show, for us, we're doing, I don't know if I'm attempting to be overly ambitious in the fact that we're recording the whole of one show and hoping to get it out in 2 days. So if you're listening to this for the first time and it's like, I don't know, Tuesday or Wednesday next week, so it's around about the, you haven't heard this before, like the 1st of August, then I failed. However, we wanted to particularly get some guys on the show. We spoke to them at the UK Games Expo, and that is Troll Trader, specifically a guy called Lewis Clark, who I spoke to Lewis at the UK Games Expo, and you may remember that we talked about a couple of games that they were producing. One was Rumble Slam, and the other was a game called Carnevale. And they have, since that conversation, they have brought it to Kickstarter, and I thought the game looks so nice and the miniatures look so nice that I wanted to bring it to your attention, and, so you could have a look at it before the Kickstarter finished. So we have a 45-minute or so interview with Troll Trader coming up as the main part of the show. But before then, we will do our usual, and we will look back over the last week and chat about everything we've been up to. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be catching up with what we've been doing over the last few days.
That will, of course, be a quick break, a swig of tea, and a mouthful of cake.
Enjoy your courgettes.
Mm-mm.
I must get through to Sergeant Watson's position. Jenkins, cover me.
Sir.
Whoa. Sergeant Watson, bring your men in. Withdraw.
It's all right, sir. We're enjoying ourselves.
What?
Yes, sir. It's these here chain of command rules, sir. We're having great fun.
Chain of command?
That's right, sir. It's a challenging but fun blend of command and control. It gives me the freedom I want to fight the way I want to. Never had so much fun, sir. And we've cooked you some sausages. Can't be helped, sir. Me and the lads are staying put.
Chain of command, World War II, platoon level rules from two fat lardies. They really put you in control. And they're even better than sausages.
What have we been playing? What have we been buying? We might even have painted something. The Meeples and Miniatures crew reveal all. Even the skins.
You put them in there, just grate them in.
Yeah, you basically just grate them in the cake.
Yeah.
It provides the cellulose and the bulk, and it's really nice.
You'll be telling me
Yum.
you're making cake with cucumber next.
That's just madness, Neil. It's far too watery.
Yeah, quite.
It's like 90% water. There's no point in that at all.
This is why I get on so well with Mr. Hobbs. He is a man after my own heart. A man who can stand up alongside me and say, cucumbers, what is the point?
All right, I do enjoy a cucumber in its place, Neil. But there's a time and a place for cucumber, and that is in a sandwich.
I'm
With some
so
salmon.
not going there.
Slice thinly in a salad.
Welcome back to part 2 of the Great Meeples Bake Off. In this half hour, Mike will be taking us through step by step on how to make your finest omelette. Mr. Whitaker will be giving us a breakdown of how you eat lemon drizzle cake, which obviously no one else knows about because we haven't had lemon drizzle cake for some time. And
Slowly, savouring it, every mouthful.
yes. and I might well even be sharing my patented recipe for chocolate fudge cake. But first, let us carry on with what we've been up to this week. Mr. Whitaker.
Oh, you were going to ask me first, were you?
Yes,
Oh, noted.
yes, because I mean, obviously, the huge thing we have to ask you about is how on earth did Posh Lard go?
Remarkably
Yes.
well, actually, considering the completely insane mad rush that was preparation for it. I've spent Friday assembling Shermans and discovering that between Gary and I, we didn't have enough big men on round bases. So breaking open a couple of boxes of British and German infantry, stealing all the command figures, painting them and basing them. Dashing off down to London on Saturday for a gig and back. And getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday to go and lay out all the scenery for Posh Lard.
Were you playing a gig on Saturday?
Yes.
That wasn't very good
I was.
planning, was it?
Yeah, it's not my band. I'm just their bass player.
Even so.
Fortunately, we were at the Pope and Anchor in Islington, but we were on first, so I literally sort of burned out the door of the venue at about 9:15 and was back in Peterborough by 25 to 11. Fine, yes. So Posh Lard went really well. Actually, we had Tim Duckworth, who is a friend of mine, and I may have mentioned a couple of times before, brought a very nice little 15mm sharp practice game featuring the French against the Spanish, or was it the Portuguese, or both, I can't remember. Didn't get a chance to play it, but it looked very pretty. The guys from the Gravesend Club, that's Phil, Tom, or Tony, I think, and Jenny, brought a very large, big chain of command games set in 1940s France. Some really very pretty scenery indeed. The Germans were attacking, their objective being to take the public convenience in the middle of the village. Needless to say, this meant the scenario was called Taking Le Pissoir. Yes, quite. Yes, so did I.
The German commandant is desperate for the toilet.
Yes, something like that. Oberleutnant Court Short.
Yeah, we have some of that scenery in 15mm.
Yes, so do I. I just haven't painted it yet.
Yes.
Then we also had a stupidly massive chain of command. Shotgun game, which was great fun. Basically based on a book I've raved about a number of times, Ken Maxey's Battle, which is basically a battalion, a bit of British and Americans against a battalion of Germans. We had three players on the German side and 4 on the Allied side. Rich Clark decided, having had one of those weeks from hell that life seems to be throwing at him of late, that he'd not bring a game himself. We had enough players, it didn't really matter. We had about the right number of players, that 3 games was right. So he played I've been Shotgun for the morning. Apparently he hasn't played it since he published the rules.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's I think the universal opinion of the rest of the Allied players, it's the last time we put Rich in command of any tanks.
They did appear to go bang quite spectacularly.
Well, it's a sort of a complicated story. So I produced a map without compass rose on it, and a set of briefing instructions that mentioned compass directions. Carl, who was the British CNC, made the obvious assumption that north was at the top of the map. It wasn't. He did then read the bit about where the minefields were relative to the lane across the middle of the table. Then he asked me where north was, so reversed the map, didn't remember to reverse where the minefields were, so thought it was necessary to bring the Sherman flails on straight away. So Rich pops the Sherman flails on, the Jagdpanther in the hedge at the far end of the table up the slope pops out of the hedge and goes bang, 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 and that and a stug between them take out 3 flails in one turn.
Now, obviously, we have to point out at this point that these were the flail tanks that you were talking about last week.
Yes.
That you were assembling.
Yes.
So it's your fault, the fact that you had just assembled them, the fact that they went bang. Because obviously,
fundamentally, well, obviously, yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. But
yes.
Fundamentally, for the amount of effort and swearing I spent at cursing Skytrex for how hard the flail arms are to fit on the front of the track, they lasted one turn.
You just feel vindicated in all that work that you put.
Absolutely. Rich, for an encore, Rich followed this up by sending all the rest of the armour, 13 tanks, up the left flank. In one go on one set of 4 blinds, all deploying off at the same time. We're not still quite sure whether he had had a momentary lapse of reason or was aiming to prove that tactics that work in Flames of War don't work in I Ain't Been Shot Mum. But suffice it to say that by the middle of the afternoon, there were only 5 tanks left. They basically got dropped on by a very great height They drove right over the little crater in the road marking the pre-registered fire point for 4105s, and the 4105s proceeded to shell the living daylights out of them. One of the things we did learn from which I think most of us knew already, but it really brings it home on a table that size when you've got battalion levels of artillery support, which you aren't fighting for with other units in the battalion that aren't on the table because you're fighting at full battalion strength. Artillery on a big World War II battlefield is king, as it should be.
Yes. So basically, Rich did a pretty good impression of the first morning of Operation Goodwood.
Yeah, pretty much. Then of course, the Panzer Shrek team leans out of the farmhouse he's advancing on and takes out another 2, and so on and so forth. And at lunchtime, he naffed off downstairs to play Chain of Command.
I was going to say, did he leave at lunchtime and go home?
No, he left at lunchtime to go home. He left at lunchtime to go downstairs and play Chain of Command, which.
All right, so the Allied players in the afternoon were kind of going, what on earth happened here?
Yeah, pretty much. Nick Meredith, who was playing the Americans on the other flank, basically executed a textbook American walking fire clearance of a forest. It was very nicely done. But the British were a bit hamstrung by the fact that most of their armour had vaporised. But it was really, really good fun.
Cool.
I imagine all that smoke would have given them lots of cover to advance in.
Yes, you would have thought so, wouldn't you? It was very good fun. It's definitely an illustration that two things. At that level of I ain't being shot one, you really, really need an umpire because you need someone who's prepared to sort of pre-look. I was pre-looking in the card deck and going, okay, so we currently got the British moving over on the left flank, and that's an American platoon. Here, Nick, have that. Carry on. You guys are 10 feet apart. You're not going to have any effect on each other. We might as well have both those happening simultaneously. And that kind of thing. And the other thing is that when you get to 50 card decks, which that probably was, you need someone who can shuffle better than the usual. I'm seriously considering buying an automatic card shuffler. I can't riffle shuffle. And what tends to happen if you do the normal sort of front and back, one hand into the other shuffle, is cards clubbed together. And you'll find that the same 3 or 4 cards will come out one after the other. To be honest, given that one of the battery-powered automatic card shufflers is £8 on Amazon, the temptation to buy one of those, because it riffle shuffles the damn sight better than I do, is quite considerable.
And they're very good.
They are. Some of them are a bit rubbish and plasticky. And apparently the math says that you need to run the cards through about 7 times perfect randomness for reasonably decent randomness.
Oh, no, you'll get bored after twice because they're noisy as hell, but they're fun.
Yeah, they're fun. But given that the other option, of course, is you move to counters and one of Mr. Slade's excellent bags. But I don't know. I have always liked the feel of cards. It's just a me thing. So we'll work something out before our next big I Ain't Being Shot One game. But yeah, it was a good fun. Everybody seemed to have a good time. What else did we do? Monday, I finished off my game in our Open Combat Border Reaver campaign and got completely clobbered. And I poked my head in on a game of Rumble Slam, which looked really rather fun, and I may have to spend some money.
Ooh. Sorry, is that Rumble Slam?
Rumble Slam!
Yes, okay, yes.
Other than that, I think that's pretty much it for the week. On the grounds that I'm gigging again on Friday, so we were rehearsing yesterday, and I'm knackered.
Cool.
When you have a little doze, Mike?
Believe me, as soon as we finish this podcast, I'm seriously considering it. That and another cup of tea, less cake.
That'll be 2 of your 5 a day.
So, what have I been up to? Still running around following the hospitalisation of the missus. So, lots of evenings spent not doing a lot. Although, it was Josh's birthday this week, which has relevance. I'll come back to in a second. So, haven't painted anything. Despite all the promise of buying those paints last week, they have yet to see the light of day. Not that anybody is particularly surprised about that, but there you go. My excuse is I am far too busy running around in the evenings doing other things other than, painting at the moment. However, we did get to play a game. We got to play Dungeon Saga last Thursday. So Mr. Luff was very happy. We got to play it with a whole bunch of painted miniatures, no less, because Mr. Luff has painted the vast majority of his original set of Dungeon Saga. So interestingly enough, there was a conversation going on last Thursday. You may have noticed if you followed us on Twitter over at the point where you start painting miniatures from a board game, whether that game ceases to become a board game and therefore starts counting.
Ooh.
No, it doesn't. No. It just becomes a prettier board game.
Says the man who's been painting all these kind of miniatures. Yes, I quite agree. Yes, indeed. Yes, so we played the first scenario from Dungeon Saga 3 times.
There is, by the way, a corollary to that argument. If you paint the figures and then use them for something else, like open combat, it definitely does count.
Yes, yeah, because you're playing a war game with figures. The figures are for a board game. You're playing a board game with painted figures. It just makes it a prettier board game.
We get very pedantic on this show. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And we played the first proper scenario from Dungeon Saga 3 times because we discovered that one of the issues with Dungeon Saga at this point in time is that, surprisingly enough, barbarians are quite squishy. They hit very hard, but there's only so much protection a chainmail mankini can give you. Indeed. So hopefully we are going to be playing Dungeon Saga again this week, and we might even get past scenario number 1. You never know. But yeah, so that's the game we've been playing this week. And what I said about relevance about Josh having a birthday party, the one thing I have bought, although ostensibly it's for Josh, but you know how these lines blur. You may remember back at UK Games Expo, we played a couple of Ninja Division games, one of which was Ninja All Stars. And so Josh got Ninja All Stars for his birthday. He did actually ask for it. It wasn't like Dad buying a Scalextric for his 4-year-old. Not that I did that, of course. But all being well, we're getting the game of Ninja All Stars a bit later in the week, because that is an awesome little game from Ninja Division, with some very, very cute, chibi ninjas, what's not to like?
Are you what now?
Chibi, generally.
Chibi ninjas. You know chibis.
That's those big-eyed things.
Yeah, big heads, big eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, except they're all ninjas.
Okay.
Oh, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. Anyway, so got in that, and then... this is in a passing reference because it happens to coincide with something that got launched yesterday as we were recording this. I've been avoiding Game of Thrones, watching it, because I've been waiting to read the books. And I'm currently halfway through book 3. And anyway, Josh managed to get or got the series 1 to 6 box set for his birthday, and so I'm borrowing the DVDs after he's watched them. I'm starting from series 1, so I am purposely late to the party, and I've been avoiding what's going on. But it's like, oh my word, it's good. Which is like, 6 years later, but oh my word, it's good. But I don't know if you've noticed, but yesterday, which was the 25th of July, Call Me or Not launched a Kickstarter to fund a new war game based on Song of Fire and Ice. I
had noticed. I'm trying very hard not to continue noticing, so thank you for reminding me.
Indeed, but it was just like, it was this perfect storm of, I'm in the middle of reading it, I've just started watching it, and then this Kickstarter appears, and I'm kind of going, oh no, not another one, especially in the light of the conversation we're soon to have. Anyway, yeah, Game of Thrones, highly recommended. Interesting looking Kickstarter from Call Me or Not.
All I will say, Neil, is don't get too attached to Ned Stark. Because it's Sean Bean.
It's Sean Bean. He's back. So remember, I am halfway through book 3, so I don't know what happens. But yeah, it's Sean Bean. Personally, I'm surprised he survived the first episode. But there you go.
Yeah. We all were.
Anyway, so that's me. Not a lot to report. So other than buying Ninja All Stars for Josh, I didn't even buy anything this week. So very, very short on general hobby stuff. Not even much published on the blog. Just as I say, it's just like there's all this kind of real life stuff going on. So I'm kind of keeping things ticking over, but that's about it. Again, thank you to everybody who's sent their best wishes. Angie's doing well. Thank you very much. Mr. Hobbs.
I've been doing stuff. I think since we last spoke, I've had 2 games, neither of which I can talk about in any way because they're playtest games.
Oh, I see.
2 completely different games, and neither of them I can talk about. Things happen.
2 completely different games. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've been painting a bit. I've been painting some dwarves.
Ooh, now they're looking rather swish, Mr. Hobbs.
Yes. Yeah, using that new painting technique, which I might have mentioned last week. I can't remember. But yeah, they're coming on nicely. I've been assembling dwarves because the Avatars of War stuff has arrived.
Okay. I'm really curious. What are they like?
They're okay. I've only opened the 1 box, which is the big armoured Doom Crushers, I think they're called. So they're 2-handed hammers and lots of armour, which means they're going to be... I painted one of them, and it took me about 10 minutes.
Oh, right, okay.
The longest amount of time was waiting for the black wash to dry before I could put on the highlights. They're okay. They're made of this that weird sort of plastic that isn't really sort of plastic, that you can't use plastic glue on.
Oh, right.
Each model is 4 parts, 4 or 5 parts. It's the usual problem when you got multi-part models, because you're trying to work out which arms go with the other arms and where you can fit the weapons.
Yeah.
So the first 10, I was sort of pulling my hair out, going, I'm never going to do any of these. And the next 10 went together in about sort of half an hour because I sort of worked it out. But yeah, they're lovely. They're big, chunky dwarves with knees.
With knees?
Which is quite nice.
Oh, God.
With knees, oh, yeah. Yeah. And the box I bought from Firestorm, it had 30 of them in there.
Oh, it's the old special edition with 30 as opposed to 20.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which is perfect for my needs. I've just had an eBay purchase turn up, which is another 30 or 40 odd Games Workshop dwarves.
So you had a lot of dwarves then?
Yeah, I'm sort of knee deep in dwarves at the moment. But tish.
There are so many things I could say to that I'm just not going to.
Yeah. What else have I done? I've had my latest order come through from Gareth at ADC Painting. So these are the Napoleonics. So the ones I got from Seabo's little dudes a while ago.
Yeah.
So they're very nice. I'm going to say they're just less than 20 mil, obviously because of the pricing structure. The only thing we did notice was they've all got the shoulder wings on them. So they're perfect if you want to do Peninsular War Fusiliers.
Mm-hmm.
But not so perfect if you want to do anything else. But they're nicely sculpted. They're nice and chunky little 20 mils.
18. Yeah, Super 18.
18. Yeah, lovely 18 mil.
Heroic 18.
Yes. Yeah, those. And
given that 18s are actually heroic 15s.
These are extra heroic.
But they're most definitely not 20 mil figures.
They are nowhere near 20 mil.
No.
There's a millimetre. Because the Gareth's prices go from 15 mil and then 20 mil is a different price.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Also, if you're doing the Vislardica Bloodies painting challenge, you get less points for them being 18s than 20s. I think.
Yeah. Well, luckily I'm not doing that.
Because you're not painting them.
Yeah, exactly. So they're right. They're nice figures. And I've noticed that Seabo's actually released a whole bunch more.
Oh, right.
Yeah, ton loads more. So he's got his British rifles on the site. There's more is there more in the Russians than before? No. But the Spanish, Portuguese and Bavarians are there. So yeah, he's releasing stuff at a rate of knots, which is quite good. Other than that, I've been busy, but I can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm. One thing of note, obviously we've been talking a lot about dwarves recently. Over the last couple of weeks with Mr. Hobbs suddenly deciding that he needs a fantasy dwarf army for no apparent reason.
No apparent reason at all, Neil.
No apparent reason. No, indeed not. And it did prompt me to get in touch with Wendy at Westwind just to ask if their Dwarf Wars range was still available. Because Westwind did this big range of dwarves, which are they're rather nice. But it's quite an old range now, and I was just saying, are they still available? Because Mr. Hobbs got me thinking about dwarves. So I just asked Wendy the question. I said, so are Dwarf Wars range still available? Because, I'm quite tempted by them. It was either looking at advertising, it's all Mr. Hobbs' fault talking about fancy dwarves. Anyway, she teased me because she came back and said, yes, they're available. But of course, we have a new range of dwarves coming.
Beg pardon?
That's all I got.
Okay.
It appears that Westwind may or may not, but I suspect may, be producing a new range of fantasy dwarves. Watch this space. I think, yes, what's the phrase? I think we need to talk. It looks like they're going to be doing War and Empire Dark Ages, and then fantasy dwarves. Which, if you remember, we saw a banner at Salute. There was a banner at Salute that had dwarves. I am remembering there was a banner at Salute on the Westwind stand that had dwarves on it. And Andy said at the time, I don't think there's a lot I can tell you about that, but yes, dwarves, Westwind, new range.
If only I had a need for dwarves for some apparent reason.
Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and when we're going to come back, we're going to be chatting with the guys from Troll Trader, who, as well as being a purveyor of all things gaming goodness and have a very good eBay shop, amongst other things, they are now producing miniatures games. If you remember, we chatted to Lewis from Troll Trader at UK Games Expo, and we have caught up with him again as they currently have a Kickstarter project going on, which I think is rather lovely, and I wanted to chat to them about it. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking all about Carnevale.
We hope that you're enjoying this episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you are, would you like to support us? There's a couple of ways of doing so. You can become a patron of the show by supporting us on our Patreon page. There you can give regularly every time we produce a show. Alternatively, you may want to give a one-off donation, and you can do that by using PayPal. For more details on both these options, please click on the Donate tab on our website, www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. Have you ever wondered what's going on in wargaming? We do too. So come with us as we go behind the hobby with the Meeples and Miniatures interview.
We'd like to welcome to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. We have Lewis Clark from Troll Trader. Hello, Lewis.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
How you doing? You well?
Yeah, very, very well.
Good. Now, you may recognise this voice because I chatted a couple of times to Lewis on the UK Games Expo show that we recorded live back in June. So, but this is the first time Lewis is kind of officially on the show as opposed to just being interviewed on site.
Random passerby.
Indeed. So, welcome to the show, Lewis. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Niels. Good to speak to you again.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah, so at the moment here at Troll Trader, we're knee-deep in a Kickstarter campaign for Carnevale.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, if you haven't heard of it, it's a miniatures game, a skirmish game set in, it's in 18th century Venice, but Venice that's gone a bit wrong. Sort of my easiest way of describing it.
Indeed, yeah. So that's what we have Lewis on the show for. I know we talked a little bit about it at the UK Games Expo because we were drooling over all these lovely resin miniatures, but we wanted to get Lewis on to chat about it, especially since the Kickstarter's in full swing. But before we go on to that, there is something that we do, and regular listeners will know. Lewis, on the show, we just want to find out a little bit about your gaming history, and we'd also actually find out a little bit about Troll Trader. So, first off, how did you get into gaming?
The basic story is my next door neighbour started playing 40k back when I was about 10 years old.
Oh, right, okay.
And I got very jealous, of course, as a 10-year-old does, and had to go in and start collecting. I went and bought my very first box of the old plastic Plague Marines, which they still haven't got new ones of. Not yet, anyway. And yeah, from there, it sort of just spiraled. Mm-hmm. Yeah, now, so yeah, that was a good 20 years ago. And now I've got a lot of Warhammer. I've got a lot of 40k armies, Warhammer Fantasy, dabble a bit in X-Wing, Kings of War, a little bit of Infinity every now and again. We've also got Rumble Slam, which is our game. I should probably, say how much I play that.
That was Rumble Slam, wasn't it?
Sorry, of course, Rumble Slam.
Yeah, curious coincidence. We had someone playing that at our club on Monday. First time I think I've seen the game at the club.
That's exactly what we want to hear. A lot of board gaming as well. Playing a lot of Talisman for a long time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, sort of anything that I can get my hands on whenever we get a chance to play, really.
Cool. So at what point did you get connected with Troll Trader?
So I've been with Troll Trader for probably about 9 months now.
Right.
Completely coincidentally, I was looking for a job anywhere in the country, and it just happened to be down here in Cornwall, which is where my partner's family are and where I've been living for quite a long time.
Oh, cool.
And I did that classic thing of looking and going, hang on, is that Troll Trader TT Combat? Didn't I just buy a bunch of stuff from them? So yeah. I literally 3 weeks before I got my interview, I'd been on the web store and splurged a little bit. So I sent an excited email to them saying, I just bought loads of your models, please give me a job. And apparently that works.
Oh, right, okay.
So yeah, since then, I joined the team at Troll Trader. The company's been around for a long, long time. For people that don't know, they're the biggest second-hand retailer for Warhammer in the country, potentially in the world now. And in the last couple of years, they've moved into the TT Combat branch, which primarily deals with MDF terrain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it deals with MDF terrain and things to make your tablescapes a little bit better. Yeah, from there, they started off on Rumble Slam. Rumble Slam was a game that got produced for Kickstarter a couple of years ago. Yeah. And I came in sort of not quite the tail end of it. They got to a point with it where the game was all made, the miniature was getting produced in our resin production facility, and they needed help with the graphic design part of it. So the rulebook, writing the rulebook, making character cards, making all the artwork, things like that. And that's where I joined the company. A sort of definite baptism of fire in that sense. Yeah. Got in and they went, oh, you know how to do all these things? Yeah, I do know how to do these things. Oh, here's a game. Good luck. And from then on, we released Rumble Slam earlier this year and shipped out to all our Kickstarter backs. It's gone to retail. It's doing very, very well. We took it to UK Games Expo and we had it salute earlier in the year as well. And now we've embarked on this Kickstarter for Carnevale, which is going to be our second miniatures game. And it's an awful lot bigger than the first, as these things go.
Indeed, yes. I mean, the thing with, obviously, Rumble Slam, wrestling, limited number of miniatures. Yes, Carnevale, Warband skirmish game, just a couple of more miniatures involved, a couple more things to do, maybe a slightly bigger table.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest changes to be with it is that Rumble Slam takes place on a board which is 1 foot square, and Carnevale, in Rumble Slam it's all squared off and you can only move a certain number of distance and squares each turn. And Carnevale is more of a traditional skirmish miniatures game. It's a 3x3 board set in a densely packed Venice. And yeah, there's an awful lot more stuff to get right.
Indeed. Right, okay, So, if people know nothing about Carnevale, can you please give us an introduction into the game, the universe?
Yeah, of course. We should start off. Carnevale was a game by Vesperon Games, which is a Spanish company. David Esbury is the mastermind behind it. He sold it to TT Combat. It's about 16 months ago. He bought it up. It got to the stage where I think it was getting a little bit too big for him to produce all on his own. And I don't know if you've met David. He was up there at UK Games Expo. He's very much, he has an idea for something, brings it to fruition, and then moves on to something else. He's but very, very creative person, very intelligent, and he did a brilliant job at bringing Carnevale to life. And since we acquired it, we've sort of kept it going for a little while. We've remade a lot of the miniatures in his original metal molds, but it got to the stage where the molds are wearing down. There hasn't been anything new coming out for it, and we sort of wanted to just do our own thing. So now I said before, we've got a resin production facility in-house. We decided that instead of just converting all the old metal miniatures into resin, which would have limited effect, it was time to recreate the game from scratch. The rule set is very, very similar, but everything from there is being made by us completely new. The game itself, it takes place in 1795 in Venice. It's a world that's changed quite a lot from what we would expect. In 1793, there was a great rent that opened in the sky, which sank a large portion of Italy beneath the waves. And Venice ended up being one of the places that was untouched by it. Since then, there have been creatures emerging from the canals. They're named the Rashar. And the Rashar are very Lovecraftian sort of monsters from the deep, old gods coming in and having their way with the world. Magic has become a lot more prevalent, and it's sort of warped the city, but warped the inhabitants as well in ways that aren't very friendly at all. And so, you pick up on the game 2 years afterwards where things have changed. Some people have gotten used to it. Some people have had big changes, and you sort of launch into the game trying to sort of find your piece of Venice, really. There are 6 different factions, core factions in the game. You start off with the Guild. The Guild are sort of everyman citizens of Venice. They're gondoliers, they're butchers, they're barbers, but they're led by a shadowy organization that comes from the old Thieves Guild, who have, since the rent opened, taken everyone under their wing, sort of. They'll protect the people of Venice, but for a price. If you don't follow their price, then you might find yourself face down in a canal.
Yeah.
Very, very mafia-esque sort of organization. Then you've got the Rashar themselves, who are these monsters from the deep. They stalk the canals of Venice. They keep quite shadowy organization, but they'll come up, snatch people, make them into slaves, and then eat them or reproduce with them to make more Rashar. They've also got the cult of Dagon, which has sprung up. The people of Venice who have started worshipping the Rashar as gods that have come in with their magic and with their creatures in order to either save the world or destroy the world in equal measure. It's a little more grey area than that, though, as the cult of Dagon has sprung up as a benevolent force. As much as they will take people off the street, anyone that comes to them, they will feed and they will clothe, and then ingratiate within their cult. You've also got the doctors of the Hospital. The Hospital open to house insane people or very sick people. The doctors started off as this really, really benevolent force that took people into their hospital and really helped them. But as magic grew within the world, the doctors started to realize that the insane people that they had in their asylum were quite magically intuned. They started doing experiments on them in order to try and sort of siphon that magic out and use it for themselves. Right. And eventually the people that were being put into the asylum were sort of drying up. So they took to the streets in order to take more people, do experiments on them. They take any animals they can find and experiment on them and use magic in order to just explore what they can do. They're very, very mad scientist vibe, the very depths of humanity.
Yeah.
So you got them. There's also the patricians. The patricians are the aristocrats and the ruling class of Venice. There's a lot of them that have lost a lot of their power since a lot of Italy sank beneath the waves. But there's a lot of them who still retain a lot of power and sort of use Venice as their own personal playground to do what they want. They go out on, they call it masqueradas, where they dress up in their finest carnival clothes and take to the streets in order to hunt people for sport. They're very, very twisted. It's the way that Venice has changed them in order to fulfill their sort of perverse pleasures.
You're really enjoying this setting, aren't you?
Oh, it's fantastic.
I can just tell from the level of enthusiasm you've got for it that
Yeah, it's one of those ones. As soon as you get involved with it, you go, "Oh, that's really interesting." They're a bit weird, aren't they?
Yeah, it reminds me a little, and only a little, because there isn't the whole alien, spooky, weird monster stuff in it. There was a series written by C.J. Cherry, science fiction author, called The Merovingian Nights, which is set on a planet which is basically very Venice-like. And it's actually it's effectively science fantasy, except the highest level of technology is about the revolver. And it's starting to feel quite similar in a number of ways.
Yeah, that sounds very, very similar. The Doctor's a very good example of the technology, because the technology at the time is very in keeping with what it would be in 1795. But because the Doctor's experiments with magic, they've managed to create extra things in order to make into weapons or into other things to help them with their experiments that are far beyond the dreams of the average Venetian at the time. Yeah, it's a very strange world, but one that very much draws you in very, very quickly.
Yeah. So from looking at this is quite a crowded marketplace, isn't it? I mean, the small sort of gang-side skirmish game. There's quite a few of these games like this around. So what do you think makes yours stand out?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We talked about it on our live stream we've just done for our Kickstarter video. That there are a lot of skirmish games around. The main thing that makes Carnevale separate is Venice itself. Venice is we call it the third player in the game. You have your alternate forces fighting over their little bit of ground or whatever they need to get from the scenario. But it's all about Venice. It's all about moving. It's about swimming. It's about using the canals and the terrain to your advantage, which is something that a lot of skirmish games really shy away from. And having been on the rules writing end of it, I can understand why.
Yeah.
So you can do things. It's not just limited to, I'm going to move here, I'm going to shoot, or I'm going to wait for you, and then I'm going to shoot at you when you emerge. It's not that sort of horizontal playing field. It's very much a vertical space. You have characters like the Capodicina, who's one of the leaders of the guild, who will be more at home, leaping from rooftop to rooftop and diving off of roofs in order to land on people and attack them. And then you've got the Rashar, who will swim through the canals at great speed in order to attack you, drag you in, and drown you. That's one of the main things that really, really separates it from anything else out there at the moment. Those sort of mechanics really, really help to emphasize what the game's about. It's a very narrative sort of driven game as well. So how it is at the moment, we're producing scenarios to play through what's happening in Venice. Our plans for the future after the game is released is to make individual scenario packs which aren't just, go here and capture the objective, or go here and kill this person. It's playing through what's actually happening in the narrative of the game.
Yeah. So are you playing inside the buildings, or are you just using the buildings as almost like a vertical backdrop that you can, so that you're playing in 3 layers, aren't you? You're playing in the canals, you're playing in the wharfs next to canals, you then got the rooftops, the balconies. So that's just sort of 3 layers that you can play in. But do you also go into the buildings as well?
There's a little bit of all of it at the moment. Inside building rules are very hard to work out. At the moment, the rules that Vesperon produced and the rules that we've got in our beta version allow you to move from floor to floor in the buildings. And of course, we've got all of our scenery made from TT Combat, has interior details that you can take off the roofs, take off the floors, and be able to play with. But it's a really hard thing to be able to balance being able to play inside and outside. We're hopefully finding a middle ground. We've got some buildings coming out and next week, which I probably shouldn't be talking about, which are sort of damaged beyond repair, which sort of really add to that middle ground of it, that you can go from floor to floor and jump from building to building, in and out of windows, kind of thing. There's a lot of different ways to play it.
Yeah, because that is the big thing. When you start going inside buildings, your playing surface suddenly becomes an awful lot greater. But the downside is you literally have to strip the buildings out to basically show the figures fighting from floor to floor. And if you're anything like me, you end up going home with hearing this rattle because you left a couple of figures inside the buildings.
No, never done that.
Or you forget about them.
You definitely forget about them. Yeah. When you paint all your models in camouflage, and the camouflage is a bit too good.
Indeed. You mentioned that the base game takes place on a 3x3 table. Mm-hmm. And it's warbound skirmish like a lot of other stuff out there at the moment. So is it? Mm-hmm. I mean, okay. So basics. Ignoring the. Okay, we'll come back to what we're doing specifically on the Kickstarter in a second. But as a basic standard, how many miniatures do you need for your basic warband?
So you can play with 5 miniatures to start with, is about sort of your base level of game. Your average game size that you play is around 10.
Right.
We've been playing with about 8 at the moment. It depends on the points cost of various units. So the patricians are very, very much well trained and know what they're doing. So you get fewer of them to the guild, who are very much a horde kind of faction. You've got lots of citizens who aren't very good at what they're doing, but they can gang up on people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you average around 8 or 10 miniatures. So it's under a dozen. You can expand the game as much as you like. We found a really easy way of doing it is taking it from a 3x3 board to a 4x4 board. It gives you a lot more space to play with, and you can increase your models sort of exponentially from there if you want to. But at its core, it is very much a gang game. It's a skirmish game. Each character activates individually, has a certain number of action points, and the idea is that you play through your rounds in a narrative way. So there are a lot of rules that you can move from point to point, but it will be you can move over certain obstacles if you run along walls and things like that. You can leap from buildings to buildings, or you can shove people off into the canals, that sort of thing. So it's very much telling a story throughout the game. And when it gets too big, it's possible to do it that way, but it means that sort of narrative element is lost a little bit.
Yeah.
Is this another of these? Is this another of these games where cover matters?
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
Excellent.
The streets of Venice are very tight anyway, and it's very much, if you want to be able to see everyone, you have to go up to the rooftops in order to see them, and they can quite easily hide behind something or dive into the canals, dive underwater, and you won't be able to see them quite as easily. So yeah, there is a lot of sort of tactical variation in what you can do with it.
Delving into or looking a little bit more about the mechanics of the gameplay. I know you've got some videos posted of and you've been working with people like Beasts of War and stuff to produce some gameplay videos and what have you. But can you give us a brief overview of say like how a turn works?
Yeah, of course. So the first thing to bear in mind is it's alternate activations. So you'll activate one of your characters, and then your opponent activates one of your characters. You take it in turns like that, so no one is waiting too long in order to react to the other person's moves.
Okay, cool.
When you start with your character, each character has activation points. Usually most of the characters have 2. You have some people with 3. Very rarely you have people with 4 activation points, which is extremely, extremely good. Each action point can be used to move, to fight, to shoot, to cast magic, whichever one you need to do at the time. Each character has its movement value, so you can move up to that, or you can climb, or you can leap as part of your movement, all that sort of thing you can do. When you fight, you use your attack value or your melee value to go into combat with someone, and you attack against their dexterity. So they have a chance to sort of dodge it, and then they have their protection to stop the attack working. One of the key elements of the game is the way that you roll dice. It's a D10 system, and there's a particular dice called the Destiny dice. In each roll that you do, you have one of the dice of Destiny dice. It's usually a different color, so you can see what it is. And Destiny dice means you can roll critical attacks or fumbles. And your criticals and your fumbles are really interesting because they change depending on what action you're doing. So if you're leaping from a building and you roll a critical, then you leap even further and you can really go for it. And if you roll a fumble, then you're going to trip and you can fall from the building to the floor, which isn't good for you. And then if you're attacking, a really strong attack will do extra damage, and a really weak attack like a fumble on your attack, will make you stunned and your enemy can counter. And that's one of the key elements of the game, is rolling this Destiny dice and these pools of D10. We call it aces when you succeed, and an ace is usually on a 7 or more. So it's depending on your stats. If you've got a movement value, a dexterity value of 4, you roll 4 dice. And any 7s means you succeed with your jump or your swim or something like that. And you can use that system throughout all the game. For example, magic. Whenever you cast magic, you roll on your mind value. And if you're on a certain number of successes, then you can cast that magic spell. Or if you fumble on your magic spell, then it's going to go very, very wrong for you. Yeah, the basic way of playing is you do that. You take it in turns to use your activation points. You roll your D10s in these different combinations. And then hopefully you win.
Hopefully, you say. Quick question from me. The range for this was out before, so there's probably quite a few players out there who've already got some of the metal figures.
Yeah.
What are you doing to support those figures? Are there rules for them in the game, or?
Yeah, one thing we really wanted to make sure was that the community that built up already through the original game wasn't lost, and we're not doing anything to annoy them, because we were fans of the game before it was there. We know what it's like to have a game that's suddenly taken a different track. So every single figure that has been released up until now, you can still use in the new version of Carnevale. There's rules for every single character that you've already got. Some of the rules are being tweaked quite a lot. So one of the benefits of the game before was that one of the big selling points was that it had such a strong theme and such a strong narrative purpose to it. But one of the biggest complaints was that the characters and the units weren't particularly balanced. So you could have some things that were extremely good and some things that, aside from a narrative, didn't really have a purpose in your warband. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we really, really want to change. So we're completely rebalancing every single faction to make sure that every single unit, every single character in the game has a purpose in the game. One of our key examples is there's a character in the Vatican forces, which is an altar boy. And you might think, what's an altar boy doing in battle? And up until now, pretty much not very much at all. So we've rebalanced it so that our altar boys, they carry censers to battle, which burn incense in order to spur their colleagues onto further feats of heroics. And so they've got an actual purpose to be in the game. But yeah, every single miniature that anyone's got beforehand is supported. We're going to carry on making the metal miniatures until the molds are completely give out, because some of them are still absolutely fantastic miniatures. But every single one that was in metal is now going to be in resin as well. We like them better.
So you're remastering them all into resin?
Yeah, the metal figures will stay as they are. We've got the metal spinners to cast them, but the molds are definitely wearing thin now. So the quality is getting a little bit worse. And when it gets to the point where we're not happy sending them out, then that'll be it for the metal miniature.
Why didn't you just make some more production molds?
We can do, but we've got a resin casting facility in-house, which is a lot easier to produce with. Is the main reason we're doing it. We wanted to remake all the models from scratch anyway. So everything has had new concept artwork, new 3D models made, and new 3D models printed with our 3D printer, and then everything is cast in resin and sold on. It means they're cheaper, can get mostly better detail, particularly as the molds wear on. The metal ones, you need to have a longer lifespan because they cost a lot more, whereas the resin ones are a lot cheaper to make, so we can keep the quality high. So yeah, we will carry on with the metal models until they run out. And if there's a lot of people clamoring for that particular model, we can always make new ones. But given the range that we produced, I'm not sure many people are going to be.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense just to retire them gently, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So definitely up until they wear out, we're going to carry on producing them. Because like I say, we really liked them originally.
With you saying the fact that you want to support everything out there, I mean, the one thing is with this game is that it already has an extensive miniature range behind it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. There's already, I think they've got 6 factions, and then the gifted as well, who are sort of people that have gained magical skills and rent them out to all the different other factions, so the sort of the mercenary warband. And a lot of them have a lot of the miniatures from the rulebook, but there are plenty of miniatures in the rulebook with stats and everything that never got miniatures made for them.
Right.
And all of those now in our resin range are going to have miniatures for them. There's a particular group called the Commedia dell'arte, who are a travelling troupe of performers who got affected by the rent and are starting to gradually turn into the characters that they're playing. And they're really, really evocative sort of feel of a group, but they've never had miniatures before. And now we have them, which is brilliant. So yeah, there's always been a lot of miniatures there, but now we've got all of them in resin, and we've been plugging some of the holes in the rules as well. So there are some certain factions that are lacking a little bit in certain areas, so being able to add individual characters just to balance things out.
Okay, so we have the original Carnevale, which Troll Trader have purchased and have been selling, and we're looking at the rules. So, why the Kickstarter, and what new are you offering as part of that Kickstarter?
You mean aside from 150 new miniatures?
Yes.
Well, that's you told, Neil.
Yes.
The main reason we went to Kickstarter is to do something new that Carnevale hasn't had before. And one of the hardest things with Carnevale before we picked it up was getting people involved in the game.
Yeah.
It's a great game. We love the lore, we love the setting, and we love the rules. But I mean, like we've talked about before, there are a lot of miniatures games out there at the moment, and if it's not easy for people to play, then they're not going to.
Yeah.
So the main thing that we're taking to the Kickstarter is a 2-player starter set,
Right.
which has absolutely never been done for Carnevale before. The miniatures were very expensive before. Now, because we managed to make them in resin, we can do them a lot cheaper. We've also put together one-piece miniatures for the starter set. The starter set contains 15 miniatures. They have a faction of the Guild and a faction of Rashar, with some really big monsters in, surprisingly big monsters considering. It's got all of those. It's got dice, it's got templates, tape measures, the full rulebook's in there, and we've also been making some cardboard scenery for it.
Oh, right.
Which is one of the hardest things to get people involved with any war game, any miniatures game, is the scenery. Particularly with Carnevale, when, like I said, the scenery, Venice is the third player.
Well, it's a completely distinctive and unique piece of scenery, isn't it? So, yeah, it is a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't set up a game Carnevale in Rager Infinity Collection for scenery to use because you feel a little bit weird. So, yeah, one of the things we want to do is have this cardboard scenery. And at the moment, we're up to, as part of the Kickstarter, one of the reasons we're on there is to raise funds for this 2-player starter set. The more people that we have backing it and picking up this starter set means the more we can put in there. So we can get more stuff. The cheaper it is, the more we have. And at the moment, we're up to 12 individual card buildings. I can't promise that there's going to be more, but if we get there, there could well be more. There's also 9 individual cardboard tiles for making your setup at the bottom. We were thinking about doing a mat, and we're thinking about doing a cloth with the canals and things printed on.
Yeah.
But one of the things we want to do is have flexibility for people. So 9 individual tiles. There are T-junctions of canals, there are straights, there are plaza sections, there are corners, so you can make sort of any sort of setup that you want.
Are they single or double-sided?
At the moment, they're single-sided.
Right.
However, I probably am not allowed to say anything else.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, double-sided is definitely something that we've been looking into. It gets quite a lot more expensive when you start doing double-sided.
Yeah.
The card stock changes quite a lot, and the printing process becomes a lot more expensive, obviously. But if we can get there on the stretch goals, then that is definitely something that we'll be looking into and hopefully doing for you.
So
yeah.
What did you learn from the Rumble Slam Kickstarter that you took forward into this one then?
Having the right people in the right jobs, I think, is the biggest thing that we learned from it. Like I said, when I came into the company, I came in and they were thinking, we don't really know how to progress with designing this rulebook. We don't really know how to progress with designing the branding for the game. And luckily, I've got a fair amount of experience doing those things. So I was able to come in and say, yeah, I can do that. If you give me the information, I can put it all out and make the things you need. Equally, we didn't have resin casting facilities when we started Rumble Slam. There was a lot of talk then about not knowing where they were going to get the models cast. They're going to go abroad, or were they going to get them done in the country? And essentially, they decided on the much more sensible option of doing everything in-house, which was quite a big shift in the company. Yeah, to go from no resin production to go to making an entire game from scratch. But now that's there, and now the design department is there, we have those people in the right places. That we have the staff. Since the Rumble Slam Kickstarter was announced, we've doubled the amount of staff in Troll Trader. So we have a lot more staff in the right place, and that's probably the biggest thing that we took from it in what we can improve on it. One of the things we really, really loved about the Rumble Slam Kickstarter was the amount of community feedback we got. From when the Kickstarter started to when it was finally shipped, the game changed a fair amount according to feedback from other people. And that's something we knew was really important before, but now we're really cemented in the fact that games aren't just us making a game and everyone else playing it. It's us making a game. If people want to play it, they can play it. If they want to make it better, they can make it better, and we can work with that as well. So for the Carnevale Kickstarter, we've got a beta rule set already available on the Facebook page for download, which I'm not sure many other Kickstarters do. So you can, if you visit the Kickstarter page and you think, oh, this is something I'm sort of interested in, but I'm not really sure how it plays out, you can download the rules and play it yourself already. And that's something that we were really, really keen on doing, because we can only play test so much. We can only play so many games in a day. It's a hard life. If we can put it out to other people, then we get, at the moment, we've got over 400 backers on the Kickstarter, and we can get them, they can be playing the game from now, and we can be tweaking the game to what the best version of it, and also what people want to be playing.
That's good. There is one thing that we haven't chatted about. I mean, we've chatted about the cardboard scenery that you're doing as part of the starter sets, but obviously Troll Trader has a little bit of a reputation for making MDF terrain.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, on the Kickstarter, there's some nice bundles of terrain there.
There's quite a lot of it. We actually put a new one up today, which is an abandoned Venetian district. Yeah, I sat down and worked out how much all the stuff would be at retail, and you're saving about 40% on the Kickstarter, which is, if you've ever bought any of the TT Combat terrain before, it's pretty good value as it is anyway. So for that set, for this abandoned district, for £50 it is, you get essentially an entire board's worth of terrain, which is huge. It's one of the biggest prohibitive things, like I said before, about people getting into the game, is getting all the scenery. And because TT Combat makes it all in-house, we can do that. The scenery that we put up today on the Kickstarter was finished, at least the prototypes that we got photographed were finished yesterday. So it's reacting to people and doing things. Because we have the design team in-house, we do everything here. We can literally do it that fast, react to what people want, put things up that people need, and do it as cheaply as we possibly can.
The one thing that's catching my eye is the Bundle C, which is all of the plazas. So to sort of describe these for people who are listening to these are an inch and a half, 2 inches high. Yep, possibly.
Yeah, they're about an inch high.
They can go inch high. Yeah, so they're basically large boxes on which you can put buildings, but because they're an inch high, it means that if you put it on a sort of riverside terrain mat, you've suddenly got all your canals there, and an inch above that, you've got your plazas, and you put a bridge across them, and you put a couple of buildings. You've got a really nice 3D
and you've
level.
Got Venice.
You've got Venice,
exactly. That section, the Bundle C is, I think it's £50, and it's a 3x3 board, which you can configure in whatever way you want. Which, I mean, you're paying similar to that for some of the other mats that you can buy, let alone like the tablescapes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for lots of games as well, for lots of ideas. Are you thinking about doing a sort of bundle of buildings and terrain? So like a £150, £200 bundle with, this is everything you're going to need to do, a 3x3 or 4x4 table.
There's one that we've got on the TT Combat website already, which is £150, and it's a complete district, which is a 3x3 table, which is it's a ridiculous saving. It's so much of a saving that we couldn't even put it on the Kickstarter for less. We wouldn't make any money on it.
That's the one. That's the one you had out UK Games Expo, wasn't it?
That was only about 50% of what we had at UK Games Expo.
Oh right, okay, yeah, because it includes the tower and all that sort of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. There's quite a lot more that goes with that as well.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, like I say, it's kind of crazy value for it. But we've got that one already on sale at the TT Combat website, which you could, one could go and buy today and have built and painted for the time the Kickstarter ships. But the actual the products on the Kickstarter, we've got the bundles together, but the pledge levels themselves, there's a £300 pledge level, which is the Noble pledge level, which contains a whole slew of miniatures, all of the board tiles, all of the buildings, and a resin accessories pack. I think it's it's about £50 worth of resin accessories to make those buildings even better, which is very, very good value. The £300 pledge level, it's not going to be a dip your toe in the water kind of thing, but if you really, really want to play Carnevale, it's probably, I think it's around £550 worth of stuff, and counting. So it's what we want to do.
Is that the Venetian set on the website?
No, that's on the Kickstarter itself.
The Venetian set on the website actually looks quite pretty as well.
Yes, that was the bundle that Lewis was talking about. The Venetian set, which we, as I say, we saw some of at the UK Games Expo, and it was it was very drool worthy. It has to be said.
Oh yes. Stop it now.
As you say, this is the thing, isn't it? With the fact that the scenery is so much, it's so evocative, and that scenery, the period, the setting, that is the thing about the game, isn't it? So
the Venice is the game.
Yeah. Without that, I know you were saying on the
the Kickstarter live video you recorded earlier today, you were saying that part of the issue is simply the entry point into the game because of people going, well, that's all and good, really nice miniatures. However, you spend £30-50 on miniatures and then £200 on scenery.
Yeah. It suddenly turns into quite a big thing.
Yeah.
Get your club to buy it.
That's a very good suggestion. Any clubs out there looking to buy scenery, come to us.
Speaking as our chairman, I never said that.
I said on live stream earlier, one of the hardest things that I found, like with my gaming club, is getting people to play the games you want to play.
Yeah,
because we find, I dare say, we find that every month there's a new game that someone wants to be playing, and unless it's easy for your friends to pick it up, then they're not going to play it. And it's all well and good for us making all these beautiful miniatures and saying, oh, the rules are going to be really good and everything, but if you don't have anyone to play against, then the game's not going to succeed. So making it as easy as you can, making it affordable, and so that you can get the 2-player starter set, open it up, and suddenly you're playing within 15 minutes. That's really, really important.
Sorry, I was drooling.
I must admit that Venetian set, I was looking at it. I think it was either yesterday or this morning, and I got to the point where I was looking at it and counting the squares and going, is that a 3x3 or a 4x4?
Yeah, there's it makes a 3x3, but it's a tight 3x3. If you're playing anything but Carnevale, then it's going to be quite a lot of scenery to get around.
Yeah.
Yeah, just check out the Kickstarter, really. There's a lot going on there. We're posting updates every day. At the moment, we've got Jay is currently making a new board for us. We've got he made one a few weeks ago. He's doing another one now, which is going to be a sort of abandoned, dilapidated district of Venice.
Right.
It's got full water effects and resin and things. And he's doing videos every day showing exactly what his process is, which is really, really interesting to see, and see that it's not too far away from anyone's abilities to be able to do it. So we've got that going up every day. We've got new products every day. Yeah, there's lots.
When do you think it's going to be due to ship out?
We're planning on a February shipping. We've said before that, because we've got the in-house resin production facilities, we can get the models done fairly quickly. But what we really want to do is tidy up the rules, make sure the book's done, make sure the core rule set is really, really strong, so that from there we can build a base game and expand on it for years to come. So we're taking our time with that, making sure that everyone's thoughts are considered, all the feedback from the beta is come back, and we can make the game really, really good. But yeah, we're thinking probably February, if not earlier, for shipping. And from there, we're going to retail at an unspecified point after that. Not everything's going to come out at the same time. So we're going to release everything for retail in waves, mainly because stores don't like us giving them 150 new products all in one go. But yeah, we're going to be releasing that. So there's a lot of things from the Kickstarter that aren't going to be released for 6 months afterwards. So we're encouraging people to, if they want something, pick it up now. It's cheaper, that it's going to be in retail, and you're going to get it a lot quicker as well.
Cool. And so the Kickstarter is running until Friday, August the 4th, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Finishes around, I think it finishes around 5 o'clock.
3:38 p.m. British Summer Time, according to 3:38.
It's very strange. On Kickstarter, you've got to set it so it's a certain number of days or a certain number of weeks, and then it finishes at very strange times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. And as I say, the pledge goal was £30,000. You're currently at 50. As we record this, you're at £57,000.
Oh, that's good. That's another stretch goal. 56 last time I looked.
We're definitely on at this point, yeah.
We're definitely on. Yeah, we're 100% funded at this point. And at the moment, it's just the more stretch goals we unlock, the better the value is. We're giving away lots of free miniatures in your box sets. And the better that 2-player starter set is. Like I said, we can include more miniatures, more scenery, more everything in there, basically. The best that we can make it.
Yeah, and that pledge level is £60, yeah?
Yes, it is. £60 for the 2-player starter, and you also get an exclusive miniature for the Kickstarter on there as well.
Cool, and is shipping on top of that?
Shipping is flat rate shipping, actually. There's shipping on top. UK shipping is completely free. no matter what you order. As long as you're in the EU, your shipping is £5, no matter what you order, and anywhere else in the world is £10. Again, no matter what you order, you can add as many add-ons as you want to that, and it's going to be flat rate shipping all the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hope you got the maths right on that one.
We do. Because we've got the distribution network throughout for all of our retail things anyway, it's something that we can offer anyway, which is something that we think is a very, very good thing for people abroad getting into it. So there's a lot of Kickstarter. You get things like when Dark Souls came out, I know they slapped an extra bit of shipping on top of it because it was a little bit off what they wanted to do. But yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. We know how much things cost, and we know what we can get away with.
Cool. Well, Lewis, thank you for coming on the show and talking about Carnevale. It's very tempting. It's a gorgeous looking game, and yeah, as I say, I mean, Renaissance Italy, Venice. I mean, what's not to like?
That's what we're hoping people will say.
Oh, they are just so pretty. They are just so nice. I was very tempted, and when we chatted about this at UK Games Expo, so I appreciate your time in coming on and telling us all about it.
No, thank you very much for having me, Neil. It's good to speak to you again.
Yeah, cool. And wish you all the very best with the rest of the Kickstarter. Hope everything goes well. Look forward to. It sounds like you're going to have a pretty hectic week, and you potentially got an awful lot more to spoil us with. We do, yeah. Yes, I'm not going to spoil anything else. I've done too much of that already. I've already been told off tonight once about it. Oh, really? Did this happen to be the, I was told I wasn't meant to talk about this, but now I'm on camera, I'm going to say something anyway? It may well have been. Not that I was watching at all, honest. Yes. No, brilliant. So thank you for spending the time with us, Lewis. Really appreciate it. So all the very best with Carnevale. Looking forward to it. I think I'm going to hit the green button. And we shall. Well, so all being well, at the point where we're near production and what have you, we'll look to see if we can get you back on and catch up with everything that's been going on with it. Yep, I would love to. That'd be brilliant. Thank you for your time. Brilliant. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Well, are you off to buy things from that Kickstarter already then, Hobbsy?
No, I'm on a completely different side.
Honest. And you're not looking at MDF goodness of Venetian streets, plazas, potential canals. Not suddenly thinking of, hang on a second, there's another Kickstarter starting soon which do particularly nice. We do have a particularly nice water map, or as one of their choices, and although again maybe I don't know, Furview water. It could be rough, couldn't it? It could be.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, but
right. Just use the seaboards we have for Sails of Glory.
Indeed,
or just use the sea mat I've already got.
From one of those lovely matte producers like Deep Cut and Cigar Box and all the others.
Mm.
Oh, you've already got a C-mat?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I haven't got a C-mat, you see.
I have.
You might want to fix that, given you're about to succumb to a Carnevale pledge.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be alright in the short term, because in the short term I can play with the tiles in the short term. But yeah, as you say. Why would you not? Why would you not buy all that wonderful MDF and produce something looking rather nice? Because their Venetian MDF scenery is stunning, and the architecture is they've got it just right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's like whoa. Yeah. So the miniatures are really nice. And some of them are particularly good looking. The answer is because I'm broke for this month. If you're after a game that has a particular look and feel, then dearie me, that is nice.
Yeah. It is good. I mean, we saw it at the expo. It's cracking stuff.
Oh, it is.
The sculpts look. I mean, I know you're mostly looking at 3D renders, I think, but the sculpts look really nice.
No, well, the thing is, you say they're 3D renders, yeah, but they're 3D renders of existing sculpts. Because obviously they've been rendering it so they can redo them, but the physical models were at the expo because they had the metal models there, and that they are stunning. As I say, being that particular Renaissance Italy vibe. Oh.
Sort of commedia dell'arte kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
They're really, 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 really yum. Yes, no, must resist.
Which is why I got him on, because it looks gorgeous. And it's like, if the game sounds interesting, then that could be...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, there's
strange incoherent noises.
There's a big green button that's calling me. Ah, dearie me. So that is Carnevale from Troll Trader.
So we're recording this on Wednesday, and the show's due to go out on Friday. So I think Neil needs to record a small little section at the end that just says, "I backed it," or
I didn't back it. Yep.
Yeah. And me and Mike will take a bet on what he's gonna.
So you'll find out next week.
Not much of a bet, really, is it, Hobbsy?
It's not, though.
There are times when my fortitude in these things matches that of Mr. Hobbs.
Mind you, it's worth noting that the Kickstarter doesn't finish till after the end of the month.
Indeed. It is August, not July. Yes. So yes, you're into a whole new month.
Good luck, Mike.
Yes, quite. Right, well, if you want to get this out before the end of the month, we better say goodbye. We better stop recording. Yes, because I need to stop recording and start editing immediately. As ever is.
Yes.
Is that because we keep talking over you and making it really difficult for you to edit?
I don't know what you mean, mate.
Do you know what we were talking about?
I don't know.
On that note, I think we'll wrap up, shall we, guys?
And while you're at it, if you haven't filled out the Great Wargaming Survey yet...
Oh, no, yes, indeed.
Go and do it!
Do it now!
Otherwise,
indeed.
We'll have to make another video.
Oh, God, no, please, no.
Spare Hobbsy from the trauma of appearing on a video camera again.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Indeed, yes.
Actually, Hobbsy, the bad news is I think they do.
You have been threatened. Yes. Fill it out now, or you get Hobbsy.
I filled mine out.
Good. Well done. And on that note, I think it's about time we got out of here. So, all that remains to be said is thank you for joining us to the man with the strangest cake in the world this week. Thank you to Mr. Whittaker. And, of course, thank you to his courgette and ginger cake.
It was very nice.
Excellent. All being well, by the time you listen to this, the recipe link will be on the website. Check in the show notes. Thank you to the Welsh wizard himself, Mr. Michael Hobbs. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you all. And my recipe for an omelette will be in the show notes.
Break 3 eggs, put into pan, whisk.
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Completely wrong.
Philistine, I know.
Yes. Grief, man.
Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you are interested in backing Carnevale and want to get hold of the two, especially a good deal on the 2-player starter set with all extra goodies, you have until August the 4th. Okay, so this is one of these shows where if you're interested, you've got to get your skates on. Okay, so
please remember when doing so that my birthday is August 5th.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike. Right.
Hint, hint.
What's the phrase? Send cake.
Indeed.
Although I don't know, lighted candles may breach health and safety rules for sending stuff through the post.
But Warlord, it's a very nice LED once.
Happy gaming, everybody. Take care,
Roll
and we'll
good
speak,
dice.
we'll speak to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, why not share it with others by leaving us a review on iTunes? And if you have any comments or questions, you can always email the show. The address is info@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. And you can also visit our webpage, where you'll find a complete episode archive, all the View from the Veranda podcasts, rules reviews, and our blog of hobby items and news, which is updated several times a week. This is also where you'll find the links to our presence on social media, and here you can follow us on Twitter or join our Facebook group. And finally, here you can also find details should you wish to support us by making a donation to the podcast. All this on the Meeples and Miniatures website, www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.